We're chatting with Colin Butler today, former mayor of the City of Casey and avid parrot breeder and exhibitionist. Colin has also had an interest in miniature donkeys and cows and is the treasurer of Bella Bella Community Centre.
How does someone get elected to be the mayor of the City of Casey?
Well, first of all, you've got to be elected to be a councillor on the City of Casey. And to be elected a councillor, you've got to represent a particular area in the City of Casey. So I was elected back in 2003 to represent what was called the Bella Bella ward. But that came right from Cranbourne, right down to Tooradin, right across to Pearcedale and cut back up Cranbourne South. Then once you're a councillor on the City of Casey, then your other, in this case there was 11 councillors, so the other 10 councillors have got to elect you to be the mayor for that year. So you've got to get a majority of votes.
Also, with the name of all the different wards and all the other things, is it named after Aboriginal people or how is it normally addressed?
The most of the wards back in my time were Aboriginal names. Currently some are also named after locations or whatever. So the ward that I live in is named Tooradin now, and Tooradin's an Aboriginal name as well. So predominantly they've all got Aboriginal background.
And my second question is, what made you to become a real estate agent in the first place?
Well, that was interesting. I used to have a farm in Tooradin and we used to grow Christmas trees and sell firewood and have children come to visit because we had a lot of animals. And I left that farm, so therefore I didn't have a job. And the local real estate agent in Tooradin knocked on my door one day and said, "Do you want to do real estate?" And a good friend of mine had said to me, "You want to get into real estate, you'd be good at that." So that's how it all happened.
How long were you the mayor of the City of Casey for?
I did one term, which is for a year, 12 months.
What does a mayor do?
Right, so if you're elected to be the mayor of the City of Casey, you have to go around and open a lot of places that have built. This one is in particular, I opened this way back in 2007, but there was a lot of other places that I opened. The Bella Bella Centre, I remember opening then, sports fields. So you do that, you go to a lot of community meetings because people will invite you to come along, a lot of community receptions, you meet with neighbouring councils, state government, you meet with a lot of state and federal government. I was lucky enough in my year to meet with John Howard, who was the Prime Minister of Australia. We opened a bridge in Berwick. So that's what you do. You spend a lot of time doing it.
Can you tell us, please, about your time at the football club, Casey Demons?
Well, that's interesting because Casey Demons, which was Springvale Football Club, came to play at Casey Fields. And with all football clubs, you have a board. And I was asked, I think after my year as mayor, I was asked to go on that board. So I went on that board and I was on that board for 14 years until Melbourne Football Club took it over then and it no longer became Springvale. My job on the council was to represent all the community members. If they had a problem, they could come to me and then I could try and help them by going to the council offices. It was also for me to go to a lot of meetings and sometimes help chair those meetings. If anybody had a problem that they needed solved, they might have road problems, rubbish problems, something like that, they would come to you. They'd bring you up, or if they just had questions, you had to answer questions as well. So it was a lot of representative work for all the people that lived in my ward. That's what I was doing.
What is your favourite movie?
My favourite movie, that was a good question. I had to think about that, but A Star Is Born. So I've seen both, the original and the second one. You guys wouldn't have seen the original, you're not old enough.
How many birds do you have? And what types of birds have you had?
Okay, so at the moment, I think there's probably about 150, 200 there. I keep a lot of parrots.
That's a lot of birds.
That's a lot of birds. I keep finches as well. Over the years, I've kept a lot of other varieties like doves and quail and all that. And at the moment, I've got, I suppose the star of the show is 3 pair of macaws.
Just on the finches, what are a finch? What is a finch?
It's a little bird. They're only little birds. They probably wouldn't be any bigger than that. You'll often see them flying around in the wild. A lot of them are Australian finches, so you see them all in Central Australia or whatever. And I've also got some zebra finches. They're the most common finch in Australia, but we also breed them and show them. So we have big shows, including Australian Championships.
What is a macaw? I've heard of it being used as a term of phrase. Is it a kind of bird?
It's a kind of bird. It's a South American parrot. And when you see all your pirate movies and you know the birds, the big parrots they have sitting on their shoulder, they're macaws. And they're the coloured ones that I have, which are the blue and gold ones.
Do you still have your bird, Macca, who appeared in the newspaper? Is he still with us?
Macca the macaw is still with us, yes. He's still out in the aviary, breeding away. So, and they live for quite a while, so we'll have him for a long while yet.
How long do donkeys live for?
Donkeys can live up to 45 years of age. The first donkey I ever purchased she was out of the wild, so we don't know how old she was, but we had an estimate of about 40 years. And she had a foal, and I had that foal for 45 years, so they lived for a long time.
What was your business for 28 years?
Right, well, when I was on the other farm, also for 14 years, I had school children, kindergartens, playgroups come out to see all our animals, and our animals were both farm animals and native animals as well. And we also used to do firewood in the winter time when we didn't have tours coming.
What are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future? Well, one day I might retire from working at real estate. I only do it part-time now, but then I'll retire to my farm and I'll breed my donkeys and I'll breed my miniature Galloways, and hopefully I can keep going to the races and watch my racehorses run.
Do you enjoy your job?
I do enjoy my job. That's why I keep doing it. That's why I keep working in real estate, yeah.
Do you have an interest in horse racing?
Yes, I do. I have some racehorses now. Over the last few years I've got some. So I have horses, mostly I had horses that ran at the picnic races, which is just a season for 6 months. But now I have a horse that runs in Melbourne, and I have some horses that run in the country as well. But they're very expensive to run.
And so you mentioned you have some horses. How many do you have?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it? We're going to air here. Someone might be checking on me, but at the moment, all up with some of them, I have just small ownerships in, probably about 12.
What got you into horse racing?
A friend of mine, who's also in ownership at the moment, he worked on a FM radio station broadcasting the racing down at Balnarring. And he one day said to me, "Would you like to go in ownership with a horse?" And I said yes. So it took about 12 months to find one. I think he forgot. And then I asked him again. And next thing he rang me up and said, "Oh, we've got this top trainer from the picnic races has got a horse you can go in." So we paid $12.50 each for our ownership, which was very cheap. And our horse ended up winning Horse of the Year, and he won 6 races and ran second 3 times in that season.
Wow, and you mentioned that you have one running in the Melbourne. So,
I have a Melbourne horse, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, has it ever raced in the Melbourne Cup?
No, it's not that good.
Okay.
It's good enough to race in Melbourne. It's raced at Flemington, Caulfield, Moonee Valley and Sandown. But it's not good enough for the Melbourne Cup, no.
Who would you invite to dinner and why?
I think Neil Danaher, after what you said before, I think he's got the most interesting story that could ever be told.
And what would you cook for him?
I'm very good at not cooking. I don't cook at home, so he would have to have something frozen, heating up. I tell you, that's all I could do.
What's your favourite animal and why?
Look, I love the donkeys. They've been really, really good. But when I was on the other farm, I had a wombat, and he was like a pet dog to me. So, you know, I really do like wombats.
How did you become vice president of a sport club?
So we've got Tooradin Sports Club that I'm vice president of on the board there. And that's a club that we set up to raise money for sporting clubs or any not-for-profit organisations, and we're a not-for-profit organisation. So I volunteered my time to run that, to raise the money. And I was asked to go on the board, and that's how I got there.
Was it hard to become a vice president?
No, it wasn't really hard. It's just you've got to put some work in. Sometimes I've got to go in there 2 or 3 times a week, just for a little while, check with the manager or whatever, but no, it's not too hard.
Are you afraid of heights?
I get very unstable with heights, especially now. When I was younger, I wasn't as bad, but now I'm sort of getting to middle age. I have a little bit of trouble and I have to be careful if I get up ladders and that, because I just feel like I'm overbalancing even though I'm not.
To be quite honest, I'm afraid of them as well.
Oh, well, and you're only a young person. There you go. It's no good having you go up the ladder for me then, is it?
What happened to the airport?
What's happening to the airport in Tooradin? Well, it's still flying light planes out of there and they still teach people to fly. There's been I think you're probably referring to the fact that they talked about putting an airport like Tullamarine. That was going to be a little bit further out than Tooradin. Tooradin was also suggested, but I think we've been talking about that now for about 50 or 60 years. I can remember at least 50, and it still hasn't happened. One day when we get a lot of houses out this side of Melbourne, perhaps they will build another one.
Well, I've got you into being cattle and what got you into it?
Right, I've always lived on land, so we've always had cattle on my previous farm where the Christmas trees were. We had a few cattle on there. When I came to my new farm, it was just totally a cattle type farm. So I have always had cows. I got some nice miniature Galloways because I like those. I had the belted Galloways before that, and that's the black cows with the white belts around them. Some people call them Collingwood cows, but we don't talk about Collingwood as far as I'm concerned. And that got me going. Then I got the miniatures, and then I've got some donkeys as well. I've got lots of little donkeys as well.
Are we at work busy?
Do you think I'm a hard worker?
Yes.
Well, I don't think I am, but a lot of people tell me I am because I'm always working on the farm, or I'm working at real estate, or I'm going to various meetings or whatever in community groups. So I'd say no, but most people tell me I am.
Who are your favourite Disney movies?
Disney movies?
Yes.
What Disney movies? Remind me of some of them.
Who are your favourite?
I can't remember them all. Can you remind me of some?
I do.
Yeah? Which ones?
My favourite movies are like Beauty and the Beast, Snow White.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yeah, that's my favourite.
Did you have an interest in history before you became president of the Cranbourne Shire Historic Society?
A little bit of an interest. A very good friend of mine he set up the Cranbourne Historic Society asked me to come along, and so I went along to some of the meetings for a few years, and then he said, we really need a new president, will you do that? So I did. I gained some interest in all that as I went along.
How much research goes into that? Because obviously history goes back a long, long, long way.
Yeah, well, out at the Historic Society in our Fisherman's Cottage at Tooradin, we've got all the histories of the old Cranbourne Shire, and they go back mostly to the 1900s, some of the stuff that we've got out there. So we've got some pretty interesting stuff out there. If anybody's ever out there, go and have a look.
What interests people mostly about the history?
They like to see we've got a lot of old implements, so a lot of old farm implements. We've got our house set up as they would have had back in the 1800s with the old beds and cots and all that, and how you would have lived. So it was a very small house. We've got a lot of the old costumes that they used to wear in those days. So it's just showing everybody what it used to be like way back in the 1800s, early 1900s.
And with the society, where do you think that'll be in 100 years' time when they're talking about now?
Let's hope they're still there. They'll probably need 3 other houses for all the history that we're going to make between there and the next 100 years. But let's hope they're certainly there so people can see, because nobody in this room would know anything about the early 1900s or whatever, and the only way they're going to learn is by coming out to our Historic Society.
As the Mayor, what was your greatest achievement and indeed your greatest challenge? Because obviously it's not all roses.
It's not all roses. All councils are politically motivated. I was an independent, so I didn't stand for either side of politics. That was a little bit difficult because we did have a lot of councillors that were aligned. So I was probably lucky to become mayor. It was lucky that one of the Liberal Party fellows actually supported me. So that was probably my greatest achievement, was being elected, because being an independent, I didn't have a group that was behind me. I had to convince them that I'd be the best person, I guess.
How did you deal with, I guess, people on the street who come up and ask you questions?
Pretty good. I think these days it would be a lot harder because people they're not as, let's say, as nice with some of their questions. They're not as respectful. But in those days it was fairly easy. If someone asked a question, I'd stop and answer it for sure.
Not that you have a lot of it by what we've been discussing, but what do you enjoy doing in your spare time?
You're right, I don't have a lot of time. Probably breeding my birds. And as I said, we breed some birds and we go to 2 shows a year in Victoria, that's all. Trying to breed a nice show bird. I used to do that 15 years ago, and I did it for a long, long time and had a lot of success. I won a lot of shows with my parrots and finches and that. That's probably one of my pleasures. Breeding the donkeys is a pleasure too. It's not, although it's a business, it's a pleasure.
What makes a good show bird?
A good show bird, the colour, the shape, the way it stands on the perch, can't fall over, it can't lean back or whatever, it's got to sit at a nice angle, and the show preparation. So you've got to spray it with water prior to the shows and it gets the feathers all nice and tight and neat and looking good, just like when you go to the hairdresser and you come out looking $1 million. So you've got to make your birds look like that, otherwise the judge won't even look at them.
And how much, I guess, training goes into training the bird?
Yeah, you put them in, you've got show cages where you show them, so you put them in those for hours on end, and you'd probably do that for, once you get them trained they're right, but you'd probably do that for 3 or 4 weekends in a row, and they might be in there for 6 or 8 hours. And there's a few tricks when you get them in there to make them stand up on the perch. You make it so they can't see out of the cage. They've got to look up over, so that makes them stand up. And if they want to jump on the wire, which they're not allowed to do, they're only allowed to go from perch to perch, then you close. I've got some clear cellophane that you put in front of the wire, so when they hit that, they just fall down. So it's pretty technical.
We've thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you, Colin, and thank you for your time today.